Be the best advice you would give to a man that's dating a hyper independent woman?
For me, leave her.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
My name is Brandon Montgomery, and welcome back to Let's Connect, your destination for peak experience. A few things I want to get out of the way up front. Number one, I will be freezing the videos a lot to avoid copyright infringement. And two, I am not looking at the strength of the arguments, but rather their techniques. Today, we'll be taking a closer look at tonight's conversation. These types of podcasts and conversations are important as the dating landscape has dramatically shifted since the previous generation. Oftentimes, these productions can be an enlightening opportunity to unpack some of our relationship challenges and leave with a better understanding of dating. Sadly, this isn't one of those times. My general opinion of tonight's conversation is that it's a well-produced, visually appealing forest fire. All the elements of high production quality are there. Good lighting, solid crowd control, quality mics, a cast that can get some laughs to break the tension, especially on very difficult conversations, great reactions from the audience, solid camera work, nice editing, and a great soundtrack at the end that makes the shorts memorable. But all of these great things are undercut by a verbal circus of nonsense that is often unactionable, unhelpful, and deceptive at worst. Before I begin deconstructing this mess of a conversation, I want to give a few shout outs to two individuals who present themselves well and are amazing public speakers. This would be Trip and Kitty. These two individuals are worth listening to. Honestly, both of them 5 stars. They are absolutely amazing. When I see a clip of these two on a thumbnail, I listen, and I highly recommend you do the same because these two are phenomenal. However, this is a rare miss from Miss Kitty because she's an amazing public speaker and delivers messages eloquently. I respect her ability to convey a prophetic message. Even in this video, her deflection is so beautiful I almost feel guilty criticizing it, and that is where the problem is. Just because the message is beautiful, that doesn't mean that it doesn't have issues or misses the mark. Preamble out of the way, let's get started. Let's begin by setting up the framing for this conversation.
Best advice you would give to a man that's dating a hyper independent woman?
So there's the frame. What would be the best advice you would give to a man who is dating a hyper independent woman? For much of the video, I'm going to keep this on the left side of the screen for your reference.
For me, leave her.
And this is where we encounter our first problem, the lack of a definition. This is a problem for 2 primary reasons. The first is that if ever we're giving somebody advice, it's not about my interpretation of words and their meaning. It's all about the individual's interpretation of what that means. Because if I don't have the same definition that the individual has, then my advice is going to fall on deaf ears. Because when giving somebody else advice, it's about advising them. I'm not giving myself advice. It's all about them, their meaning, and their journey. It's not about me. The second reason, and this one is really going to be apparent the more we watch this video, is if we don't have the same definition, it's very easy for us to talk past each other because we're not talking about the same thing. So it's very important to get everyone on the same page.
For me, leave her. Like, think about it in reverse, ladies. If you had a hyper-dependent man, would that turn you on? Probably not as a woman because you're looking for a leader and all those things. Well, as a man, I'm not looking for a hyper-independent woman.
All right, so right in the beginning, the first speaker, he's trying to make a point. He's trying to make an apples-to-apples comparison. He creates a comparison by saying that a hyper-independent woman is essentially the same as a hyper-dependent man in terms of attraction in the sexual marketplace. So therefore, this is an apples-to-apples comparison. This immediately establishes a clear parallel by equating the two. He's creating a simple, easy-to-understand framework for his argument. This creates a solid jumping-off point for everyone to follow. So far, so good.
I hear you, SD, saying leave, and that's cool. That's you. I respect that.
Miss Kitty acknowledges his point and respects that. So far, so good.
But there are some men who are willing to say, you know what? I see past that. I see past that hard shell and that hard exterior.
Now we're seeing the problems that having no definition causes. Now, a hyper-independent woman is a woman that has a hard shell, a hard exterior. So what are we talking about? This is why this is hard to follow.
If you don't have the capacity, go on about your business. But if you do have the capacity, the one thing that we lack in this narcissistic, selfish society is grace. It is lacking. You ain't perfect neither.
This is a classic deflection. What does not being perfect have anything to do with advising a man who is dealing with a hyper-independent woman, whatever that means?
And if we really want to talk about it, y'all talk about hyper independence in a woman, but what about dependence in a man who's been enabled by his mama for so long, and we give compassion, or we stay there?
This is a classic example of a deflection. Whenever someone says, well, what about, they are deflecting from the issue.
About hyper independence in a woman, but what about dependence in a man who's been enabled by his mama for so long, and we give compassion, or we stay there?
This is an example of a red herring. Bringing up the dependence of a man in this hypothetical situation is not relevant or even related to dealing with a hyper-independent woman. These two things are not related.
In a woman, but what about dependence in a man who's been enabled by his mama for so long, and we give compassion, or we stay there?
This is an example of the Tu Quoque. This focuses on the hypocrisy of the other side. In this particular instance, we're talking about the hypothetical dependence of a man who's dependent on his mama. That has nothing to do with the argument. This is a deflection.
And we give compassion, or we stay there. That's why I don't like this side of the conversation.
This is an example of appeal to motive. This is where she admits her bias because she is uncomfortable with this part of the conversation. It's okay to be biased. It's okay to be uncomfortable with a part of a conversation. However, it is way more powerful to admit that in the beginning. That way so we can understand your perspective and where you're coming from. Now, after hearing this completely colors her original argument in a completely different light.
Because what we do as women is give a lot more grace to men than what we get, when a lot of time the burden is placed on us. We are constantly navigating spaces. We constantly hear what society tells us that we have to do. We constantly have to deal with our siblings and our children and our parents, because a lot of times when our parents and stuff get sick, it's not the boys that they go to, it's the girls that they go to. And so we have all of this weight and all of this burden that we carry on us, and we constantly have to be reinforced with these beliefs that we have to be strong and we have to take care of everything.
This is a perfect example of a Gish Gallop. She's throwing out a huge number of arguments, regardless of their validity or if they are well supported. The sheer volume makes it impossible to address each one. She says that women have to navigate difficult spaces as if men don't have to do that. Then she mentions caring for family. And then she says that women have to be strong and take care of everything. Well, for one, I don't know who said that this had to happen. I don't know what evidence she has to support this. But more importantly, how is that relevant to what advice would you give a man who is dealing with a hyper-independent woman?
So yes, for a moment, y'all can show up and at least see past that exterior.
So not being an independent woman means having a bad moment. You see why not having a definition really hurts these conversations, because we're not even talking about the same thing. The first speaker was talking about being competitive in the sexual marketplace. And the second speaker, Kitty, is talking about having a bad moment. These two things are not the same. So here's a summary of the tactics that were used in this short 2-minute clip. This is why you need to be very selective on the content that you ingest to make sure that it's not only high quality, but also very effective. So I'd love to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can see more content like this. As always, until next time, let's connect.